version 1.5, Milliastra Wonderland has introduced a bunch of new UI features, and specifically in this video, we are going to go through the floating interaction page. So I'm going to show you what it is. When you create a floating interaction page, the first thing you can set up is the style here. So we have these styles, but we can also have no background showing all the stuff behind. And if you go into the edit details under style, you can find that here we can add stuff, and here we can, there's a few options that are only seen here and we cannot add it anywhere else. That would be the text window, which is, the text window is very simple. It's basically just, you type a bunch of text here and you decrease the size, you can see that the text has a slider, so it has a scroll bar. That's all it is. But the more interesting features is going to be the tab. So the tab here and the single choice window. So in this video, we are going to set up a simple menu example that we can use with the tab. So if we go to style on our tab, we can choose between a bunch of preset styles here. So I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use a custom style. So you can change here to custom. And basically all the tab is just a menu that you can cycle through using key and E, but you can also change to A and D. And that's all it is. It's very similar to the single choice window, except you can see here, the single choice window doesn't have that. So if we can center this, and if you go onto style, when you have custom style, it's going to ask us for a asset, and we have to create this asset, which is basically going to be the visual for our buttons here. So we have to go onto the assets tab, and I'm just going to add the image. I'm going to select something simple here. I think that, let's just drag it to roughly the size we want. Then we can have, oops, can have a proper visualization. So I like this one. I think it's quite interesting for our tab. So, and here you can either add a text or an image or even a UI animation to your button. In my case, I'm just going to use a text because it's simpler to work it in this case. So I'm just gonna add it. You can drag here. And we are not gonna type anything yet. What you wanna do is hold Shift, select both, right click, and create asset group. And this is going to be our unselected tab, I'm gonna call it. But if we wanna have different text, we don't wanna create a bunch of these, one for each text. So what we can do is go back to our floating interaction page here. And on the middle top here, we can create a formal variable, which will allow us to make the text dynamic. So we can go here, add a string, and we can call it tab menu name. And that's all we need for now. So we can go back to our asset, go to our text, and here we can insert variable and search for our tab menu name. Let's also center it. I'm going to actually decrease the size a little bit. And I'm going to get the location so I can Also make it to the middle. And that's going to be it for now. I'm just going to save as a template. And one thing I forgot is we also need a style for whenever it is selected and hovered. So I'm going to make a selected. So I'm going to copy and paste it. I'm just going to call this selected tab. And hold on a minute, I copied too much. Okay. And now what I'm gonna do here is you can do whatever you want, maybe change the color or add a different style. Let's see here, I'm just going to use this style as an example. So we can also save this. And back at the tab, we can get our default here. So it's unselected tab. And for the you can create individual ones just so the tutorial doesn't last too long. I'm going to use just two styles. So we can just use the unselected here and deselect for deselected. You can also add animations and stuff. So here we can select our style we just created. And we need also to check the size. So we can see here that the size is, actually we need to reduce the size a little bit. I'll save it. So the size is going to be, let's just copy. I'll save this one. So by 50 height, and the other one we copy. So we can go to our functions and tab item size. We can change the size here and the height to 50. So 3.89 and 50. We can also add some spacing if we need to. So here we can preview when it is selected. And what we want to do is link the tab name here. So to change the value, we can link and we can type whatever we want. So I'm just going to type menu 1 here, menu 1, doesn't matter. And then we can just copy this and paste a few times and just paste. Or here, just gonna change from menu 1 to menu 2, menu 3, menu 4. And then you can increase the size of your tab however you want. You can just have it like this. Again, this is just an example, so it may not look the best, but it will be fine. And now I'm going to add a simple background here, just so it doesn't look that flat. Let's just increase the size here. Let's just find any background we can find. Yeah, maybe something like this would work for now. You can just move this up a little bit. Can center it to 800. Can also center this. Yeah, let's just do this for now. And now we need to set up our single choice window here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna get roughly the size that I want here. And then I'm going to add a text box. And this is gonna be called item title. Or rather, item name. Let's just move it up. Increase the size a little bit. Right, that's fine. And we can also add a text window. It should be the item description. And also have to move it up here, right click, center it. Actually, not going to center this one. Maybe make a little smaller. Yeah, that sounds good. And then here we have to create a few more formal variables. So we're going to need one for the item image. We're going to need from the item name. And we're going to need another for the item description. All right. Let's also add the item image we did not add and set up the stuff we just created. So the item image is going to be a dynamic reference, and we want it to have the same height and width. So let's just maybe make something like this. Even less, this is a bit too much. Right, we can move the description a little lower. And here on the name, we are going to monitor a formal variable. And that's going to be not on our tab. We want to monitor the one from our single choice window. And on the description, same thing. We monitor our variable from the single choice window. And for our image here, I should probably name this, but we can just monitor single choice window. And the asset is going to be our item image. All right. And now we need a style for our items. So I'm just gonna make the same thing as before, just two styles. So let's just save this one. I'm going to get two, oops, not inside here. How do I, here, unselect it. And just going to add the image here. Increase the size by maybe 115. I'm going to copy it and paste it for the background. Maybe do 120 for the background. 125. So the image is going to be a dynamic reference because it's going to be dynamic to the item, which is also going to show up on the bigger image with the name and description. So we just say item image. On the background image, we can just find a few background images. You can do it however you like. Can maybe even copy paste this, make it like 135, 135. Add a cool frame here, something like this. Actually, this would be nice for the selected one. Can just make something like, can just do something like this. Let's maybe decrease this a little bit. And then you can shift click again, create asset group. You have to fix the order. So I think this one is here. I messed up. That looks right. This is going to be unselected item. Then we can save as asset group, copy and paste it. And you're gonna rename the second one to selected item. And here on the last image, we just copy and paste. Oops. Just copy and paste. I don't know why it's not. I don't know why it's not adding inside, but I can just place combination here. So for this one, I'm going to say let's maybe 140, 145 is too much. And you can just add something that tells it's selected. Just going to add this pink one. We can maybe even like add a layer on top and make it white so you know it's selected, but let's just do this for now. I'll save as a template. And back on our float interaction page, we actually need to get the size of this. So it's 130 by 130. So I can go back to our float interaction page. We can find our single choice window here. And let's add the styles we just created. So selected. No, actually, I got the wrong one. We need the unselected, 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 and selected. And here on our list items, we can just add the formal variable. So item image, item name, item image, item description. We can select the style just created. We need to set the size, which I forgot. It's 130 by 130. And we don't need to center align. Don't need fixed columns. And basically what you would do here is just create a bunch of items with different names, with different descriptions. So if we add the image here, we can click on the image and find a few icons. So let's just get this apple here, copy, can delete the apple. So if you go here on list item, we can get the image. I'll say apple, and we can say a nice apple. We can just copy it and paste it. Let's paste it like a bunch of times. I'm just going to change the to a nice item. Then let's just change a few of the icons here. So 3, 4, 5, some item, xd, item 5, item 5 description, just so you know it's being changed. And I'm just gonna rename everything just so it's easy. See, item description, item name, item single choice window list. And just so it's easier for us to set the visibility rather than setting the visibility of each individual item when it's on the inventory tab, I think it would be easier for us if we just copy this and create a new page, rename this page to inventory tab. And here we just paste everything, add this page on top. That should be good. So we can just delete our other stuff here. And when we pasted, the monitor control unselected, so we need to select it again. So item single choice window on everything. Item single choice window. And now, if you go back to our tab, we need to make sure that this only shows up when it is selected. So let's go back to our styles here. We have menu 1, menu 3, menu 4. I'm gonna call the menu 3 our inventory. And we are going to control a container visibility. So when it's menu 2, menu 3, we are going to show this inventory. But when it's menu any other menu, we are going to hide it. So just copy this and paste on the other menus to hide our inventory. So we can now close this, save as a template. We will need to copy the index here. And we are going to need to create a node graph to actually open this. So here I'm just going to create a node graph. So menu opening, just going to use a tab. So when tab is selected, I'm going to get the selector entity. I'm going to get the player that the selector character belongs to, get player. And the node we want is show floating interaction page. We can just connect this, connect the player. The index is the index that we copied. And here it's going to ask for a initialize list data. And for this, we can just assembly the dictionary. And here basically it is asking us for a key. And the key is going to be a list of the tabs and the floating and the single choice windows that we want to open. So when I open my inventory, I want to open the item single choice window with 1, 2, 3, 4. It has 6 items. So let's second here. Let's before anything, let's just add our tab to. So let's just copy the index of our tab, and we can see that we have 4 tab menus. So out of the value from our tab ID, we can select here the menus that we want to open. So I want it to be open with 1, 2, 3, 4 in this order. So if you want a menu to not show up or be in a different order, like I'm gonna do here on the single choice window, you just do it like it's on the single choice window. And we can see here on the inventory that we have 6 items. So we're going to add more than 6. Let's add 8 items. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we can repeat item 2, item 1, and item 4 as an example. And I'm going to also add this to our world. So let's find the dynamic unit. Let's say add a sign. Let's add a tab. Let's say open menu. Make it very big. 6. And let's add our node graph menu opening. And then let's test it. Go here, open our menu. And we can see that here, when we press key and E, we go to the different stuff. And here, we can select any item and the image is changing, but I must have forgotten to change something on the, let's go back. So the item name and the item description are not changing. So we are just going to go back here. Let's see why that is happening. So we can also just disable the inventory container to be initially effective. That doesn't change much because we already disable it when it's on other tabs, but just to be safe. And then we can go to our inventory tab. Let's look to our item name. And it's not changing because we forgot to set up the variables here. So we can say item name. And on the item description, we can just insert the variable and insert our item description here. And now it should change. So before we go test again, let me show just a few more stuff you can do. So for example, you can also add buttons to your UI, and you can trigger the button to do something based on the item that is selected. And how would we do that? We would go here to the, well, actually you need to add the button inside it. So you add the button inside the floating interaction page. So custom button, let me just move it to Oh, it is actually on the inventory tab, so it doesn't matter. So how would you use this button to do something based on the item that is selected? You would go here to enable control monitoring, and this you can say, oh, I want to do something with this button based on which tab is selected, so you would choose the tab. But in our case, we want to do something based on which item is selected, so you would toggle this item here, and now whenever this button is clicked, it's going to call this event on the node graph. Let's go to the node graph here, and it would call the floating. When floating interaction page is triggered, and under this list item, selected list item, this basically would tell you which of the item is selected here when you click the button. Of course, you would need the index of the button onto the interactive item index. The interactive item index would be the button, and the selected list item would be which of these items here is selected. And then you can do whatever you want based on that value. And you can also toggle the visibility of anything here based on the button, same as you do before. So let's see our final test. Let's go open menu. It opens on the tab 1. If you go to tab 3, we have our Apple here. We have our item 2, our Apple again, some item 5, Apple, item 2. And now we can see that it is all working. And you can see how very easy to do this is. And that's going to be it for this tutorial. And I hope it is helpful. And thank you.